dig on that music. It's cool music. Almost wish the timer was longer, but no. Okay, then I'd be on an Inspiring Reflections channel because he's got like a 2 and something minute intro that is just jamming. That was almost a plug. I was on his channel was it yesterday?
Yeah, I think I saw that. I think it was 2 days ago. I'm not sure.
And it was 2 days long. No, wait, it wasn't. It was just a few hours, really.
Yeah.
I hope people can see the StreamYard link that we have put up there. Just in case somehow you can't, I'm going to spam it. The StreamYard link. You can click that and join us here on the panel. There's room. See, there's room. There's stars. There's all this room for us to come and talk to you, like Rosemary. Hello, Rosemary. Welcome. We are here to talk to you about street epistemology, to do street epistemology with you, to let you practice on us with street epistemology, or, well, almost anything else as long as it's kind of on topic. How are you guys? Tell us about yourselves.
Good.
Doing pretty well.
Yeah, I just did an SE interview yesterday, so I'll be coming out with another video here, hopefully maybe today or tomorrow.
Nice.
And I did an interview with a podcast, and that'll come out eventually, I'm sure.
Which podcast?
It is the History Voyager podcast, I think is what it's called.
Okay. Send me a link.
Podcast. I'll do that.
Yeah. You're even welcome to spam it out, but if you do, if you have the whole comments thing with the StreamYard, it'll sound like it's coming from street epistemology. Or you can pull yourself up on a YouTube and do something like this and speak from your own voice if you choose. That also works.
All right. Yeah,
that's also if you want to say something that I can type up here. That's the easiest way, so that you could type in the thing. Hello, Morgan. Hello, Rosemary. Helloing Gina. Helloing Rose. Okay, I can't follow. There's a whole thing going on in there, and that's great. All right, so waiting for callers. Does anybody have any topics, any little stories you'd like to tell us before the callers drown us all out?
I got a story for you, Dali. Not street epistemology related, but it was from the last time we were on a call. We talked about binary numbers.
Yes.
The joke that there are 10 different
types of people?
Yeah, so yesterday I actually learned how to read binary code, and I was like, okay, now it makes more sense.
Yes.
So now I understand binary code. I'm the other kind of person now.
So now you've added a bit. You are the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put a big 10 on your shirt. Reverse the 0. No, anyway.
Hello.
Welcome. I was out on a walk this morning with my wife, Naya. And we had a nice long walk over to the Victorian houses in Los Angeles, and a friend of hers wanted a picture of the house that Michael Jackson's Thriller was shot in. It's like, ooh, look, it looks like all the other Victorian houses on this block. Okay, fine. Look, house. Like, and as we're coming back, ordinary pedestrians, Los Angeles streets, cruising along. Here we are. Woman coming toward us, and in this order, in a very quick succession, I noticed several things. I noticed that she had an intense look on her face, like she was on a mission, and had a little bit of the blinders on, not searching out other people, more like on a mission. Okay, great. And then I noticed that she was barefoot, which was weird because there's glass and shit on the streets, and that seems a little slightly dangerous. And then I noticed that her shirt was that she was unshaven and that the carpet matched the drapes. And then I noticed that I could see her breasts, and I came to finally realize that she was utterly naked, walking toward me.
Wow.
With an intense look on her face. And I nodded, hopefully gracefully, as she passed. And my wife said, I bet somebody's going to have to 5150 her pretty quick.
5150.
My wife and I is a medical coder at a local psych hospital. 5150 is the code for when somebody is involuntarily, I don't think I want to call it incarcerated. I think, put into psych hold. Psych hold is the term.
Wow.
So that was an odd one. That was a strange one. And wow, just the overwhelming thing was compassion. Like, damn.
Yeah.
Not that I have any problem with seeing people naked. I'm a nudist. It's like I want to go, hang out at beaches and parties, and that's wonderful. I think naked bodies are lovely and wonderful. In this particular case, in this particular case, it was enough out of norm as to indicate to people, maybe just on its face, prima facie evidence of someone being insane.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, how strange is that for the LA area? I haven't been to California since I was a kid. I only hear stories
on just the open street that's not part of an event or something. I've known that for years, and I don't know if it's still happening. There was a yearly bike ride, a naked bike ride in Griffith Park, and and I don't know why or how it's okay sometimes and not others, but it's a rare thing. This isn't like San Francisco where there's whole parts of town where you're just expected to be fine with that. I would love that. I think that would be just way cool. I think it would be way healthier if we could get over our hang-ups about clothes or not or whatever and just let people wear what they want. Without reading a whole bunch of something into it and think of the children, all that kind of thing. So,
yeah.
Anyhow, so call in, get us off to this topic.
Yeah, that's what we need to do. Just keep bringing up increasingly uncomfortable topics until somebody, somebody calls in.
Indeed.
Well, we have. Did you have that video that you wanted to show, or what, did I misunderstand that?
Nope, that's a good one. That's going to take a good 10 minutes. So anybody who is going to plan to call in, you're welcome to call in, hang out in the green room. I'd even bring you in, but we're not going to get to you for like 10 minutes because we're going to do this. I have this person I really like. I really like Daniel Ray. He's a critic of street epistemology. And I want us to have critics. And Daniel is one of the kindest, easiest to get along, least screamy, almost not even straw manning. Sorry. He's like the steel man of SE apologists. So I want to encourage the shit out of Daniel Ray. Sorry, Daniel. He's a Christian. I want to encourage the poop out of Daniel Ray. This is a recent video that he published about a recent video published. Is the sound okay or is that too loud? Do you hear the sound okay?
Yep.
Good, thank you. Daniel has spectacular production values.
And this is a way to help people be less wrong more frequently.
If there's no way to know they're false, at best we can at least show that there's no good reason for
we can
believing
lower
they're
our
true,
confidence,
which is about as good as saying it's false.
Is anybody else getting that feedback? I'm getting like a double. Is that just me?
Getting a double? Ooh.
Yeah. If it's just me, that's fine.
You have a YouTube tab open with no? I do, and I have it muted.
No, I do not. So I don't know why it's occurring, but it's okay.
Okay. Here's the first claim. When a street epistemologist suggests the idea of lowering your confidence, that's a clue they think your belief is false and you have no good reason for believing it. Is that claim clear?
Yeah.
Do you agree that claim is being made?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about that claim?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can
Sure.
go first.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I would say that claim is false because it's under the presupposition that we think that what they're saying is false, and they got to prove it true. But rather, what we're saying is we don't know if it's actually true or false. But let's see if we really do have a good reason for it or not.
Okay.
So our default position is that we lack a belief in that, but it doesn't mean that we think that it's false necessarily or true necessarily. We just have no judgment on it until the reason is provided.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at. I would need to really hear the reason to evaluate the claim further, but just on the face of it, looking at the claim, I don't like judging claims too much because I think people jump too readily to doing that. But my bet is that the claim is founded on incorrect assumptions about street epistemology. But I would be open to hearing the reasoning and exploring the argument as a whole.
All disclaimers aside, I, of course, am not speaking for street epistemology in general or street epistemologists or the street epistemology community. I can only speak for myself.
Same with us.
Asked that question. Yeah, same with you guys. Everybody's in the same boat here. I ask that question if I believe that the claim is one that falls into observable epistemology as compared to, say, normative or moral epistemology. If somebody has a moral claim, I am just as likely to drop the confidence scale. If somebody has a claim that can be tested, can be observed, that's when I re-include the confidence scale. It has nothing to do with my position on the claim or not. If you said water was H2O, I would say, how confident are you of that? If you think we should give clean water to everybody, I would say, tell me your reasons for believing that's true. Because one of them is like a political normative claim. And that's all it is. It's not whether I believe your claim or not. So I think in this case, for me, Daniel's claim is incorrect. I'm interested if other street epistemologists would think so or not.
Yeah, I do want to. I think if we wanted to,
would you like to weigh in on this one, Rosemary, before I continue?
I'm just going to listen for a little bit. Yeah.
Great.
You've got 4 of the top SEers in the world here. We're writing, what is it, 22 modules. Each one of them are like 60 pages each for the most thorough, in-depth guide to showing anyone who wants to learn street epistemology from start to finish can do this free of charge. We're giving it away for free. I've already volunteered 100 hours or more. I'm sure Reed has as well. There's over 40 people working on this thing.
Well, there's a claim, but it's a claim made by Nathan. Should we mention it? It's a claim that there's a big course being developed and it has these enormous number of pages in it.
Yeah, that's changed.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I really hope that the scope of what's to be read can be dropped by 4 or 1. I hope so. But
yeah, that was true at one point though.
It was bad if it's 1,000 pages, but it's better if it's 300.
Yeah,
personal opinion.
Yeah, I did want to say really quick, in terms of like if we were going to be charitable to Daniel here, I think there are people in street epistemology that really want to have the conversation about God, them being atheists and speaking with people who are theists. That seems to still be a desire that some street epistemologists have, and also to varying degrees. So some people want it more, some people want it less. But the ideal circumstance that we're trying to create regardless is that you can do street epistemology with anyone on any topic. And so that means, and also, again, we do have this proclivity to want to talk about certain things, but if people want to talk to us about certain things, like God is a popular topic.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain topics that are going to be popular because of the conversations going on in society.
Yeah.
We can't necessarily, you know, we're leery of even trying to direct the conversation a certain way. We want everything to come naturally. So, you know, that's an unfortunate side effect, is that God is a popular topic and people bring that up a lot of time when you ask them, hey, what's something you really believe in?
Gina says, I agree. Short and concise is better, and I don't know what the size of the project has to do with anything. I would say that's a question of reach. I would say it's a question of intimidating and losing readers because they don't have patience.
She might be talking about Daniel Ray's perspective here. Like, she doesn't...
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. And you can tell us, Gina.
Yeah.
All right, should I continue?
If more people
that
did
was
SE, how would that change our culture?
Oh, it would, first of all, it would make a lot more moderates. And it would take a lot of the extremes off the polar ends.
There's a claim. If a lot of people did SE, would it pull people from the edges of a political spectrum or edges of positions on wedge issues and push them more toward the middle? Do you think so?
I don't know.
Viral?
They might be committing the middle ground fallacy when they say that. Like the best solution's necessarily at the middle.
Okay.
That can also be false. It's not necessarily true that the best solution is in the middle.
Right. I think this relates to the prior claim. Nathan claims about the scope of the project, not the reach, how many will engage with it. Yes, I think his claim was about the scope of the project, and my claim was that I hope. So it's my claim maybe that I hope it's shorter, and that's just one person's opinion. Yeah. Okay, good. Rosemary, do you have any thoughts on this before I continue?
No, I'm just enjoying listening for now, getting comfortable.
And it would also radically reduce violence.
Now, another claim. If a lot of people use SE with each other, would it radically reduce violence?
I'm willing to say that I think it would reduce some extremism and some violence.
Okay.
That's
Any other thoughts there?
Yeah, I would second that opinion as well, because it can also help people realize that, hey, maybe the other side of the polar spectrum, maybe they have a good point, and maybe I'm missing some parts in my belief, and maybe I can find a way to coalesce them. Is that the best way to put it?
Yeah. I think Gina agrees that critical thinking can reduce extremism.
Yeah, when you realize how much you really don't know, it can help you think, do I really know all this stuff, or maybe am I missing some nuances to a certain belief that I have?
Indeed.
More flourishing, less suffering.
Yeah. It would basically it would bring about peace on earth. I mean, if I want to go to real extreme.
Peace
but
on earth.
Peace on earth. What's your confidence on that? Okay.
Earth. Goodwill to men.
Yeah.
When you do this so much, the claim doesn't.
It starts.
Yes and no. I'm interested in people's claims. I want to know what they think. I'm not necessarily persuaded by them. Some of the time I am. Some of the time I am genuinely persuaded by people's claims. Notably, Quayd's claim about trusting experts is one that I want to adopt. Trying to be persuaded on that one.
Let's not forget that there's libations involved in
Sure. This is
interviews too.
drunk SEers, but that's okay. They can make claims.
Yeah, it doesn't make them wrong either.
And they're allowed to be wrong. Everybody's allowed to be wrong. So on the things, the claims don't matter. I think in context, what we mean is we don't need to be concerned about the specific claim they bring. That's not where we're looking. We're looking at the meta reason, the reason behind the reason, the third order reason, the epistemology that they use to get to that claim. We don't need to be concerned at all whether they shift on this claim at all. That's not what we're aiming at. We're aiming at the reasons that we choose to believe. If we're going to persuade at all, and I know that's a dirty word, sorry, Will. If we're going to persuade at all, it's about this layer in here, and we can ignore this layer. If they choose something different back at this layer, it will inevitably trickle back. And then they might change their mind. Now, whether they change their mind for or against my position, irrelevant.
Or whether you change your mind, learning how they come to conclusions and being like, oh, that makes sense too.
Sure.
Right? That's always an option.
It happens. It happens enough of the time that I find it very valuable personally.
Yeah, I agree with what Dali said there, because some people can come to a true belief, or actually all of us can come to a true belief, but our reasoning could be bad. For example, if I said I believe 1 + 1 = 2, and the reasoning I give for that is because I have a coin and I flip it. If it's heads, it was going to be 2. If it's tails, it's going to be not 2. And I flip it and it turns out to be heads and it's 2. And I tell you that's the reason why I believe 1 + 1 = 2. That's an extreme example, but you can see that the reasoning isn't good, even though we come to a belief that we all generally accept as true.
Mm-hmm.
So really it's the foundation of that belief that we really want to focus on in street epistemology, because that also can leak into other aspects of their life. If they use that same line of reasoning in other areas of their life, that could be problematic if the reasoning isn't good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think part of the reason I do street epistemology is because listening to other people have debates about controversial topics, I often notice that they're focusing too much on the claim. And I see street epistemology as doing something different than that, than focusing on the claim. You hear the claim, Donald Trump is the best president ever, and you think, oh, I hate that claim. So,
Okay.
this is you can't imagine how stupid a claim this is. And then you start approaching a conversation with somebody who believes that way, that gets you nowhere. Whereas you say like, okay, why do you think that? This is now a door that's opened
Mm-hmm.
that allows further exploration beyond just hyper focusing on the claim.
Starts to matter less and less, yeah.
Is the purpose of SE to eliminate beliefs?
You guys want to take that? Well, incorrect beliefs.
Is the purpose of SE to eliminate incorrect beliefs? How true is that?
I don't think incorrect's the right word, Dali. I think rather the better word is beliefs that we don't have a good reason for believing, as opposed to saying incorrect.
Okay, so maybe under-supported. Under-reasoned?
Yeah.
Okay. That's close enough. That strongly overlaps with incorrect. Incorrect by a particular standard that essentially can't stand the light of day. It's a vampire belief. If you reflect on it enough and really think about it deeply enough, it's hard to hang on to. I think that's what we mean.
Yeah, it also depends on what the purpose of the person doing SE is. We've talked about that before. There are different goals and purposes in SE, and I imagine some incorrect beliefs will go away. But yeah, a lot of times it's really hard to get to that. And the reality is, whether or not you're getting rid of an incorrect belief, you might be getting rid of an incorrect or bad reasoning. You might just be getting rid of the bad reasoning, even though the person continues to believe something that's incorrect, or they believe something that was correct, but they believed it for the wrong reasons. So now they don't believe it anymore because the reasoning was bad.
Yeah.
that can happen too.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't necessarily say that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I think it's raining because it's Tuesday, and Tuesdays usually rain, and then I find out that it's not Tuesday, but it is raining. What do I do? It's being extreme to remain staunch in a belief, in spite of any reasoning process to support it. Yes, doxastic closure. Yeah, we were talking about what is a simpler term for street epistemology, and I would say public, uneducated, doxastic openness practice, which introduces far more jargon, so never mind.
Christopher Hitchens died, what I've claimed in my talks is we don't need a fourth horseman. We need thousands of horsemen to emerge. We need thousands of individuals. That's why my initial claim was we needed 10,000 people to be able to.
There's a claim. Would 10,000 people doing what we do be an important goal?
Seems like, I mean, it would be nice, but it's a little bit like the 100 monkey thing.
100th monkey? Okay.
The 100th monkey. Like, oh, once you get that 100th monkey, it takes off.
Yep. By the way, that was debunked, but ignore that.
Right.
The idea is important, that once you get to a critical mass, then instead of people having to go through direct practice and skills learning and classes and videos and all this kind of thing, that critical thinking discussion and the Socratic method just becomes part of normal speech. And then, what are you guys doing? You haven't added anything to this.
You had 10,000 people to do this, we could eliminate virtually any belief you could think of.
Yeah. I see the SE as the next step after new atheism.
Ooh. Any thoughts there?
I'll see what's on some other people's minds.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a little of Daniel Ray's work. He rocks. I like him. He's totally welcome.
Any thoughts, Rosemary or Viral?
He's like your biggest fan, but who's also your biggest critic type of thing. Because I always see him in the chat every time I'm on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's a very friendly critic. He is the Hasatan. I'm not calling you Satan. I'm calling you the advocate for the opposition that is honorable and welcome and valued. I actually found that there's a lot of critics of SE that have affected what I have seen in the course development and in the teaching of SE, even to the point where I will sometimes have names in my own head of where that came from. And there's more than one Daniel Ray rule. So, yep. Robert says we're 1,000 steps beyond new atheism. Okay. I wonder what an atheism was. I know that there was 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, probably because it fit on a screen nicely. And that was apparently a big turning point in the something because 4 guys who'd never met each other wrote books.
Yeah, I think they were they were like the people most likely to expose you to atheism, probably just because of how prolific they were.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it was just the 4 loudest voices in atheism.
Oh, yeah. Because there were still plenty, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Michael Shermer was around. Like there were plenty of atheists. Yeah. Those were just the most well known.
People are going to throw rotten fruit at me, and Richard Dawkins is by far my favorite of that list. And then Christopher Hitchens, and then Daniel Dennett, and Sam Harris, whatever. I'm not annoyed with Sam Harris. He just bores me.
Sam Harris was my favorite at one point. I think Christopher Hitchens, just, you know, he's going to be my controversial pick. I'll pick him because I probably disagree with Christopher Hitchens the most in terms of ideology.
Okay.
But I liked his persona the most because he was so unapologetic about everything that he did.
Yeah. Very good comrade.
Yeah.
I was hooked on him.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I was hooked on Hitchens long before I became an atheist, and he didn't convince me. He just entertained me.
Mm-hmm. I volunteered to play Daniel Dennett in the movie. Pure hitch for asking how. Yeah, I would have predicted that. Is it beneficial to keep street epistemology separate from a belief system and or atheism? Thoughts?
I mean, I think yes. You know, I think like we're in this like this happens a lot where, for instance, like university professors or academics tend to be liberal.
Okay.
Like they tend to be on average. And then this is posed as an issue. And I understand it. On the one hand, I'm like, yes, I could see this as an issue because it might bias some research, right? But if you did like a poll of firemen and asked them what they thought about like faulty like outlets, they're probably all going to have the same opinion. But because it's not politicized, it's not a big deal. But it's just like, okay, let's say it became politicized. That like some people said, no, faulty outlets aren't a big deal. But all firemen agreed that they were. That's not necessarily a problem. Just because they all tend to agree on that topic. So it really depends on why they're agreeing, you know, so on and so forth. Fire people are going to not like houses on fire. Like,
right.
That's not necessarily an issue.
I'm going to bust this out. Separate from a belief system, SE is an analysis of belief systems. So I get confused when I try to separate it from a belief system or even make it a belief system because I just get wound up in definitions. So let me just shorten that up and say, is it beneficial to keep SE separate from atheism? Is it useful to distinguish modern SE from its atheist-centered past?
I would say yes.
Same here.
I think it might be useful. I think it would be done differently if you had a theist doing it. Like, depending on who that theist
we have some
is
theists
and what their
that do it.
background is. Yeah.
I'm thinking specifically of Luke and Matthew. Interesting that they're both biblical names, but that there might even be a causal effect in that. But in any case, Luke is a friend of mine for years now. That's on the SE Discord, and actually this morning he was running the SE practice, and he is a Catholic, or he is Catholic, whichever's the most respectful way to say that. And he does SE very well, and he's good and clear about his positions and very clear about his epistemology. Just because I think that epistemology isn't valid doesn't mean he's not clear about his beliefs in epistemology, and he does SE perfectly well. And I am way happy to have him attempt to modify my epistemology. Bring it. I want it.
Yeah, I grew up Catholic, so I can kind of see how that fits well. And it's just like, I think it all depends on what background a person is coming from and what their epistemology that they grew up with and how that fits in. It's hard.
He shares Quayd's epistemology with just a few modifications. He trusts the results of the Catholic scholars, the theological scholars in his field, and says, yes, there it is. And uses that as enough of a core epistemology that he's, as the doctor who called last week said, not losing any sleep over it. It's sufficient confidence based on that epistemology, which I want to call a meta epistemology, because we do recognize that there's a argument from authority, so you've got to have some kind of a limit on the confidence and a few other things that we could talk about that. But yeah, he's got very clear epistemology. Same with Matthew Havertz, who's a theist who does street epistemology, and I'm very happy to have him review my epistemologies and convince me that there's better ways to think. So yeah, I think the benefit of de-emphasizing the atheistic roots are that we are open and welcome to theists and atheists equally. It's not a problem. Street epistemology is a tool that works for everybody, I think. And if it doesn't, I'm really interested for whom it doesn't work and why.
Yeah, like I think that again, it's one of those things where, so ideally, I think SE should do whatever it can to decouple itself from atheism, because I don't want this to be seen as an atheist movement. But I also don't think it's realistic to expect that people who are doing this probably aren't mostly going to be atheists. Maybe that will become true, but right now, and I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with most people practicing are atheists, then that's fine by me.
I live in a country where about 70% of people are religious, depending on how you ask the question. Mm-hmm. And I also live inside of a subculture of scientifically minded people for whom 70% are atheist. If you just, look at engineers and scientists and anybody in technical fields, you're going to find that the atheism is... And I think that's kind of where street epistemology would end up, is probably about similar to scientific subfield. People will call it a trick anyway, says Martin. Sure, fine.
Yeah.
Is SE specifically an atheist technique or concept? No. Peter started it a lot that way, and I think his publishers had an awful lot to do with the selection of wording because it attracted a lot of attention. But street epistemology is not even religious centric. In my experience, I only have maybe 30% of people bringing religious claims out in public. Although, I don't know, is law of attraction, which is like another 20%, is that a religious claim? So maybe I'd have to modify.
Stuff like that makes it difficult.
Robert says the belief system of street epistemology is the honest pursuit of truth through rationality in the context of a reality we all share. I see your anti-supernatural bias. I see that your epistemology is that which is observable. You are obviously at least a methodological naturalist materialist, scum.
Yeah, Robert. Belief system of street epistemology.
Yeah. Catholics are less picky than Latter-day Saints.
Yeah, I was gonna.
I don't know. Boy, I know more about Catholics than Latter-day Saints, but I believe you.
I think you could totally be a universal Unitarian and do street epistemology. Like, well, you could be a Christian and do it, but in terms of like having cognitive dissonance yourself, I could actually imagine that you could be a universal Unitarian and do it with relatively low cognitive dissonance, depending on how you're, or even just a Christian that takes the Bible metaphorically.
I'm going to paraphrase Martin and say truth and reality doesn't have anything to fear from the screechings of monkeys.
Yep.
Is atheism a more likely outcome from an SE conversation than theism? Do we find that the SE method is biased towards atheism?
I'm gonna say to the question, I'm gonna say my bet is yes. That's my bet. I don't know that. How would we know that? We would have to run tests, right? Which we haven't done.
Oh, it's painfully obvious. I'm an atheist. I'm correct. If you do something that leads you to correct, you will come to my position. It's obvious.
And you do SE.
Same with every other wedge issue that I have. You will agree with me on gun control. You will agree with me on abortion. You will agree with me on civil rights. If you just think right. Come on.
Yeah.
In sarcasm flag. Besides rapport, what makes street epistemology any different from the scientific method? Thoughts?
Good question.
You're not actually running any experiments, for one thing.
Yes, that is for sure. We're not doing science while we're doing SE.
It's
Yeah.
not peer reviewed.
Right? SE is not peer reviewed. Well,
Yet.
okay, it's not peer
Well-
reviewed in the same way that science does it.
Right.
This show and the review show and all of the practices that we do and all the feedback that we give is peer review of a sort. This community loves peer review.
It's probably it's closer to being a theory than the scientific method itself. It
Yeah.
seems to be like a theory.
I think on average, the SE practitioners that I know have a very strong preference, a bias toward scientific method and maybe even scientism, if we can allow such a word. So, okay, it's kind of a subset, but we're not doing science. We're doing conversation. St. Google says that a belief system is a set of principles or tenets which together form the basis of a religion, philosophy, or moral code. Then SE is not that. SE makes so few claims. We do have a bias towards scientific-y kind of epistemologies, but we don't even say that those are correct. We just say, we like those. And here's why we think so individually. But as a community, I don't think we have a consensus on what are good epistemologies. We do have a consensus on some bad ones. I think there are some bad epistemologies, like I should choose my financial choices by flipping a coin because coins are money. Yes, it was a clickbait book title, no question about it. SE is biased. This might be a question. Is it biased against a belief?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Because you have a belief either way.
Yeah, it's biased. I think, maybe it's biased against like unsound epistemology. That's the closest
Sure.
I think you could get, right? Something like that.
I think that I have become excessively pyrrhic in my skepticism. Pyrrhic meaning referring to the guy who had to have his students follow him around because he didn't trust his own eyes to tell him where the path was. I think I am in the swing the pendulum way to one side, where I have an excessively hard time forming new beliefs. So I'm actually looking for meta epistemologies. I'm looking for shortcuts and getting an idea how to determine their reliability so that I can come up with working theories that are beyond my horizon of actually being able to do the science through really good means. Gorgeous is saying, I think referring to the burning in the bosom or almost any of the personal experiences that involve thinking about it and then seeing how you feel about it as a means to determine truth.
Or Schopenhauer.
Schopenhauer, yes. Yeah, I think burning in the bosom rocks for the art. Oh, okay. It was about the respectful way to refer to Catholics or a Catholic or something like that, and that Luke and other Catholics are apparently a lot softer and unconcerned about the labels that are given. And I think this whole question about Mormon versus Latter-day Saint is probably a short-term thing that's going to happen over just a decade or so. And I think 20 years ago, there was absolutely no concern. They proudly said, "Hi, we're Mormons." And 20 years from now, people are going to go, "Hi, I'm Latter-day Saints." And sure. And you guys have a book, and you have a Book of Abraham and the Book of Mormon, and it won't be any importance. Asking how doesn't think that SE is a knowledge generating function, that it seems to be about exploring and evaluating people's beliefs. Yeah. And I think the evaluation happens on their side because my opinion doesn't have any impact, even if I make it obvious. People are not persuaded by me. Peer review is not a requirement for scientific method. It depends on the science.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on the scientist, because some scientists will say, I'm not going to read anything until it's done with peer review unless I'm involved in the peer review process, because I want to filter everything based on that additional test. So in practice, peer review might be absolutely required for some fields.
Yeah, peer review is a great answer to the problem of induction. And I can't think of a better one that we have currently. This is kind of like, I don't know if it's one of the Weinsteins or both of them, but they've griped about peer review. And I completely understand gripes that we should criticize even peer review. But my question is going to be, what's your solution? Like, what do you think is better than what we have currently that is going to help solve the problem of induction?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, especially if you're making an inductive claim, peer review is one of the better answers to overcoming that.
Gina asks if we are taking claims. Yes, absolutely. Just click on the thing and the link that I'm just spamming for there. Asking Cow says, Mormon versus LDS seems like the euphemism treadmill at work. Yeah, perhaps in 20 years we will go, no, you shouldn't call us Latter-day Saints. That's big, nasty, and you should be called Joseph Smithites or Smithists.
Oh, is that a thing? Mormons change their name to
Mormons do not want people to call them Mormons.
Oh,
they want to be called Latter-day Saints.
I thought that those were two different religions, so I guess that shows what I know.
Well, cool.
I did not know.
That it's okay as long as once they've told you, you try to remember it after only 3 or 4 times, it'll work fine.
All right, I'll try to remember that.
Yeah. This is more about peer review. If you have to go through peer review to get published, then the meta-analysis are the top-level proof, and that predatory publishing is potentially messing with this system.
Big problem.
Oh boy. Predatory publishing and the need for publishing and the need to show significant results and
publish or perish.
Yeah. I mean, that leads to p-hacking, right? That's flat out encouraging p-hacking. By the way, if you don't know what I mean by p-hacking, that's a different show. Because, oh my.
Makes it harder to teach, too, because you can't tell university students anymore, well, just make sure you're getting it from a scholarly source, because then they'll get it from some, open access journal that, it's just has a bad reputation.
How many replication standards would it take to reduce confidence in the scientific method, or maybe public relations, or I'm not sure what the PR part stands?
It's a good question.
Yeah. I found there's a close friend of mine whom I trust in almost all things. One of the people I have the highest trust for. And I was asking a question that I'm trying to get an answer I can have higher confidence in, which is like, what should be my target blood sugar? And I'm modifying my diet, attempting to get a lower blood sugar because I am convinced that what I've had is too high. But what's my target? And why should I believe that? And my friend handed me diabetes education materials that my friend knew about and had experience with. It was great. And I said, and why do you think this is true? He says, well, because everything that's in hospitals has to go through X and Y and Z and that kind of thing. And I said, so how many counterexamples where they're failing to learn from the science for how much time? What would change your mind? And doxastic closure, which, by the way, is not great when you trust somebody a lot. Find that they are doxastically closed and uninterested in information that should shift their confidence in something like that. Anyway, so call in.
I do have a claim if nobody else calls in, by the way.
Sure.
Yeah, and I can also do one, so either or.
Oh, Rosemary, you are more than welcome.
Rosemary, you're first then, because you called in. He was on the panel. You get priority.
All right. So the question is, I think it would be good to start it as a blind claim and then move. Yeah, for me at least.
Excellent. Okay, so Rosemary has a blind claim. And this is the game of 20 questions. We aren't trying to figure out what her claim is. We are merely trying to go through the street epistemology process, blinded from the claim so that any of our biases don't push. In a case like this, I'm going to break the rule and say let's all three stay in, because
That's fine with me.
it'll be interesting questions that way. Do you guys have a question?
You often explain this to me. I'm interested, but I don't quite grasp it yet.
I will start then.
Okay.
Rosemary has a claim. Could you tell me the nature of the reasons that lead you to this claim? Maybe you can tell me the reason directly if that's helpful, or you could go a step further and tell me, is this something you can count or something you can categorize, or maybe this is about words? Maybe I'm playing 20 questions and saying, is this a claim about morality or what laws should be?
Ooh, it's kind of a little both of those.
Okay, it's like a normative claim, a laws and morality.
It's a normative claim. Yeah.
It's a normative
slightly
claim.
Measurable, but not necessarily measurable. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the claim about how something would get better if we change the behavior? Maybe as a society or maybe as individuals?
It's a claim that where I would say had a high confidence in the past that we should not do something, but my confidence is lower.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
my confidence is lower that about not changing behavior, basically. The possibility of changing behavior is open or more open.
Okay. Yeah, that actually confused me, and that's okay. I can be confused. Is this something that go ahead?
Well, no, I was going to actually, Viral, do you have anything? Any questions?
No, nothing yet on top of my head.
Okay. If people were persuaded by your claim, would this improve the world?
Yes, normally.
Okay. And now we've achieved something that can be measurable in the world. And now I bring back in confidence question. How sure are you that the world would be changed in a positive way if, on average, people heard and believed and acted on your claim?
I would normally be at an 8
Mm-hmm.
in most
scale of 10?
circumstances. Yeah, 8 out of 10. And then sometimes, but like in specific circumstances, my confidence is down more to a 6. So
Okay. So generally 8, and for some categories that you can think of, it's down to a 6. Do you guys have any questions?
Person, place, or thing? No, I'm sorry. That was a joke one. Let me.
It's a bit of a 20 questions, but in this case, I'm not actually trying to figure out what the claim is.
Is it related to? Oh, okay. So I'm probably going to do this wrong then. Probably doing. This is like a.
Go ahead. Give us a bad example. We like those.
Okay, like.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Wrong answers only. Go.
Is the claim about current political topic?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm playing 20 questions. I know. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's a perfectly reasonable thing, because now you've narrowed the normative claim down to something that people would be familiar with, as opposed to something abstract.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we should swap 2 with 3. I don't know. That's really abstract.
All right. Next question. Anyone question?
What hypothetically could you learn that would lower your confidence, specifically in that 6 zone? There's this area in which you are unsure, and this is me sneaking in trying to figure out what that zone is. That's fine too. Yeah. Or maybe if you'd rather a question, could you describe the category in which you think that lower confidence applies?
I think to lower my confidence in the claim as I phrased it from a 6 down to like 3, 4, I would need to know that more damage has been done than would be caused.
Mm-hmm. I see. So it's a question of cost benefit ratio for some
Yes.
for some categories. So I give you the magic wand, and you get your wish. 2 years from now, we measure something, and I want you to fork this one for me. In one case, it raises your confidence. In the other case, it lowers your confidence. It might be the same measurement, but you could tell me what are the things that after you measure, after it's tried, would move you up or down?
The thing that would move my confidence up is that there hasn't been a disruption to the normative processes that had already existed. And the thing that would move my confidence down is that our normative processes have deteriorated.
Okay, so your expectation is that our normative processes would improve if you are correct in your claim.
Yes, they would
Cool.
normally be better.
So even tying would not be good enough. Did I get the polarity of that right? Even if you detected zero change, that would not be good enough.
If I detected zero change right now, I would still be as unsure as I am right now.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Do you think that in the general case, not the specific case where the costs might be unusually higher, do you think that in the general case, 8 is the appropriate confidence for you to have given what you understand today?
Yeah, I would normally be like an 8 to 9.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
possibly higher in like in my past experience, but in my present experience, that's why I'm dropping.
Okay. Oh, you're on your way down. So in the past you would have been higher and you're moving downward. That's very interesting.
And I don't feel comfortable about moving downwards on this.
Okay. Can you tell us the rate? Is this moving down 10% a year? Is it 10% a decade? Is it a month? What's the scale of the change?
It's probably more like in that monthly, like it dropped in the last like year. So
you're in the middle of changing your mind about this thing.
Yeah. That's why I thought it would be an interesting topic.
Fun. Is this something based on an ideal?
Somewhat based on an ideal and also based on practical purpose.
Okay, so it's a mix. It's a mix of idealism and practical observation that this thing is a good thing, costs not much. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What's the worst cost someone pays if they follow your claim?
If they follow the claim as it's phrased, the worst cost would be someone taking advantage of the system.
Okay, so corruption, cheating is the cost. I see.
Yeah.
Does this have to do with somebody controlling like the variables of who gets what for what reason or who gets to do under what conditions kind of rule? Or is this surreptitious because I know you're not home, I can steal your stuff?
Ooh, good question. I'm not sure if it would fit into those. It kind of like, I like to steal your stuff in a poetic way, but I'm not sure if I can fit it well
That's
into
cool.
either of those.
It doesn't fit. That's fine because I'm blind.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know very much that isn't just obvious from the conversation. Any other questions, Viral, Quayd? You're in front of asking how.
I think that's a good question. We could address that. Is the discomfort?
Is the discomfort in your declining confidence inhibiting your evaluations? Are you messed up because you are having an emotional reaction to changing your mind?
Potentially. That's why I thought it was a good thing to talk about, because it's hard to it's a topic that like I'm somebody that speaks through my thoughts, so
Yeah.
I do think that they are inhibited because I have very strong principles that are being challenged.
Okay.
In this case,
Morgan, welcome.
Well,
Probably the first thing is you'll have to check that you have a YouTube tab open and have to shut it off. That's just the ritual. And do you have any comments on what we're talking about?
No, I want to come afterwards. With
Okay,
something.
so great. So you're next.
Thank you.
Rosemary, is there any question, especially with a Boolean claim, this is really likely, is there any question that I could have asked that would illuminate or answers you'd want to give? This is your chance to add anything we missed.
I'm not sure because why I did it as a blind claim is because then it takes everybody's thoughts out of it and gives me a chance to speak through kind of how I'm thinking about it without speaking the words, so to speak.
Okay.
So,
Braff
I've never
asks,
heard of that. I think it's interesting.
Cool. Braff asks, what is a claim? In the context of street epistemology, a claim is anything that you believe is true, or maybe you strongly believe it's false, because the claim would be it's false that, or whatever, that we could talk about why you think so. In this case, it can be almost any belief from, I think, a liter of water weighs about 1 kilogram to, I think, abortion is something. It could be a whole bunch of options. So hopefully that describes what a claim is. And claims are the things that are going to be brought into a street epistemology conversation and examined. The reason we like to see a clear claim at the beginning is so that we can keep the conversation on track and scoped to not just adding on, which means you never really get to the bottom of the thing. Morgan.
Yes.
What would you like to bring?
So it's not really a claim. First off, I would like to apologize for my accent or if my English is correct. French.
yeah.
I think we'll be fine. Yeah. Okay. It's more.
The other two guys in the green room, their accent is differenter than yours.
All right.
I don't know if you can beat Luke and Otangelo who are waiting. Go ahead.
All right. It's more a philosophical question. Like I am under the impression here that we all agree that truth is objective. Am I right?
Okay.
Okay. And
I think so. Not everybody does, but go ahead.
Mm-hmm. And I am also under the impression that we all find the principle of falsifiability relevant.
Uh-huh.
And we all see why. Then here is my question. How would you falsify the claim truth is objective? Because it appears to me that every time I try, I end up with an answer that will be an objective truth.
Mm-hmm. Truth is objective is definitional. It is a question of my epistemologies, the ones that I trust, that objective truth is the goal of those epistemologies. I do recognize there are other epistemologies that define truth differently. There are epistemologies that, for example, say truth is what God says it is. There are epistemologies that say truth.
That's going to be an objective truth.
Yes, if you think that God is objective. So sure, you could have that one and call that one objective because God makes it objective. Others would argue that God is subjective. Fine. That's that becomes its own argument. And others might say that truth is what is politically expedient. Others say truth is what my gut feels. These are all separate epistemologies that I'm aware of that push onto the relative side of truth.
But on the claims.
Are they claims? They are claims about the nature of what truth means to them. And truth is a definitional question. I have to take somebody else's definition. And if they say truth is what my gut says, I say, okay, when they say truth, truth subscore gut. Got it. And in that case, truth is not objective. But truth is just a label we're putting on things that we give epistemological weight to.
All right. Because I've been struggling answering that question. Like,
yeah,
I've been asking myself. How would
it's
I
a pointer
falsify
problem.
this?
It's a hand pointing at itself when we're starting to talk about what truth means, because it's definitional and recursive.
Yeah, I would say that to falsify truth as objective, you would need an example of truth that wasn't objective, which means that it, like, one way would be if it's subjective and not objective. And so I actually don't think that truth is only subjective. I think that there are subjective truths. There are truths that can only be known by a subject that we won't be able to quantify or measure objectively. Which to me
like
is
personal taste or something like that.
Yeah, a thought or feeling that you're having. These are going to be things that we're not necessarily going to be able to measure, but the subject experiences them. Is experiencing them, or dreams, right? Like the fact that you had a dream, the things that are in the dream aren't necessarily objectively true, but there is a subjective truth to the fact that you did experience the things in those dreams. So, but it's not objective. So I guess that's my response to it. That would be what falsifies to me that if the claim is all truths are objective, that would be what falsifies the claim for me.
All right, that was it.
Thank you, Morgan. I have two people waiting in the green room. Call again. I think Luke was first. I'm not sure. You and Altangelo came in at almost exactly the same time. Welcome, Luke.
Oh, hello. Is it me?
Hello.
Or... Oh, yeah.
You are in the center.
I am in the center. Nice.
And in the silhouette.
And I am the most beautiful one, right? That's what it means. No, just saying. So I had a claim today that we could explore if you wanted to.
Yes, please.
The devil is the ultimate bad guy.
Okay, the devil is the ultimate
one
bad guy.
Of them. And there is another one that I started yesterday, and I'm not sure yet where I stand. Well, I'm sure that's true, but I don't know exactly where am I at. It's about sex before marriage. Abstinence is a good thing.
Okay.
That would be the second one. So which one do you prefer? The one about the devil or abstinence?
There's four of us. If somebody and so I guess we get to choose which of those, devil is a bad guy or abstinence. And so do any of the four of us want to volunteer to be the who wants it the most? And then you get to decide which one. Who wants it the most? You gotta raise your hand.
Roll the dice. Let's roll the dice.
I'll take whatever, so it's up to anybody else.
Alrighty.
So Quayd, you the first. Hi Quayd. Quayd, how do you say Quayd?
Quayd, that was pretty close. I think you got it right the first time, so nice to meet you, Luke.
I try to read the name as it is written. Quayd. I'm good.
Luke,
I'm
right?
good, thank you. Luke. Like the one who wrote the Bible. No, not the Bible.
The gospel.
Thank you. The word. I'm French, so Quayd, you don't know me, but I know Dali. So sometimes words in English will have I have trouble finding them.
Okay, all right, no problem then. Okay, nice to meet you. So I think we could just go with your first claim if you're okay with that. Just the devil is the ultimate bad guy. Is that the claim? Do I have that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I kind of got a list I like to follow here, and I will write. Is that okay? If I just
go ahead. Okay. Me too. I have my claim right there.
Great,
and I can see you right there. So if I look there, it's because there anyway.
Yeah.
You there. I should put you over there. Let me do the other. Oh, there you go. Right now I should be able to. Am I more looking at you now? Yeah. It seems like it's different. Anyway.
Okay.
What's your first question?
Yeah, this one actually came from Dali, which I think is a good one, which would be, how long have you had this belief?
Oh, it's not long. It was last year. Somebody claimed that the devil was a good guy. Was indeed in the Bible. When you took the Bible as a book, like a Harry Potter book, like a fictional story, and you read it as a fictional story, you will have the devil as the good guy in this book. And I say, okay, let's run with it, and let's see if, even if we don't take it literally and we don't take it as a Catholic Church. I'm a Catholic, so so if the way the Catholic Church interprets it, could we still interpret devil as a good guy? Is it possible for us to interpret? And no. So that's why I have this claim from last year.
Okay, so you might even be talking about, like, in a narrative sense, like in terms of the narrative of the Bible, the devil's, of any other narratives, the devil's the one. He's the bad guy.
He's the bad guy, right? Okay. If you look at Superman and you see, what's the
Lex Luthor,
super
maybe.
villain of Superman?
Yeah, Lex Luthor.
The Joker for Batman. He's the Joker part, right?
Yeah.
Superman does he have? Oh, it's Lex Luthor. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Lex Luthor. Yeah.
Lex Luthor.
Okay, so how confident, from a scale of 0 to 100, how confident would you say that you are that the claim is true?
So because I had yet to explore the claim, I will put my confidence at 65. 65 is the default, where I have my personal opinions and feelings and arguments that I build myself, but not test it from in front of others. So it's a 65. Okay,
65%. I have this. Never mind. I won't do that part. So I guess some things initially is, I don't think I need the devil defined, but yeah, somebody in the comment section also put this, so I think this is interesting. What are we talking about when we mean bad here?
Oh, that's a good question. So like Lex Luthor or the Joker, the bad guy. That's what I mean by bad. It's when you have a story, you have a good guy, the hero, the one who is doing the good things, and the bad guy, the one who is trying to go against the hero, right?
Okay. So I think, okay. So I just to make sure that I'm clear here, because there is this idea of like the antagonist in a narrative, but the antagonist isn't necessarily a bad person.
Oh yeah, like in Dexter, where the antagonist is the government that is trying to
stop him.
Oh, right. So not in the sense of antagonist that could be the good guy, right? It's the I don't know how to say the bad guy differently, like the one who beats children, right? So the guy who does the bad things.
So maybe does the bad things, right? So how do we know when this person is doing something bad? Like, what is the thing that they
using our morality? So morality can be subjective for some people. That's a claim. I don't believe it is subjective because I'm a Catholic, so morality should be objective because of God and whatnot. But even if there is a common understanding of things that are good. We agree that beating children is a bad thing, or like a killing is a bad thing, or lying is a bad thing, and those things are done by this character. So therefore, he makes it the bad guy.
Okay. So, just to reiterate some of the things there: killing. You said, did you say lying? Lying,
yeah. Lying is the first thing.
Eating children, right, was another thing, right? Okay. All right. My guess is that you would, and maybe you won't agree with this, but do you think that, so for instance, let's start with lying. There's the very, very old common counter here. You are harboring Jewish people in Nazi Germany, right? And somebody asks you, so in that circumstance, would you say it is the correct thing to lie, or would you still say no?
No. So if you were able to not lie, it will be better. So lying is that the least worst thing, or the least bad thing that you could do. But that's the last option. If there is a way for you to not lie, you should not lie.
Right. And I actually can recall a time talking to, there was like this story about somebody who told their grandchildren, if you find any Jewish people, hide them, but don't tell me. So that way, when somebody comes up to the house and they ask me, do you know if there are any Jews in your house, you can say no without lying, right?
That's a good idea. That's
Okay.
a good story. Thank you. I will pick you up. Pick it up next another time. Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, he wouldn't be lying. He doesn't know.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting concept. But let's say that that's not an option. Let's say that, you know, a Jewish person, they come into contact with this person, they know they exist, they have to do something with them, and they put them in their house. Can you think of another option there where the person doesn't have to lie, but can do the correct thing? They know that there's a Jewish person, they hide them in their house. Nazi general comes up and asks, do you have a Jewish person in your house?
So it's about what is worse, okay? So we have, he will pick the gun, kill the general, which is worse than lying, right? So he better lie than kill the general that came in. He will have the option of jumping in front of the general and being killed himself, like suicide, which is worse than lying. And so that's how these options, they do exist. There are options, but they are worse than the lie. So that's why lie is the least worst thing.
Okay.
Is it English? Least worst?
Yeah.
The better thing? The better thing to do. Yeah. That's a better thing to do, but it's still a bad thing.
It's still a bad thing. Okay, I think we got that. So ultimately, the point is lying is bad no matter the circumstance in your view.
Yeah. It won't become good. Because the reason why he wants lying won't become good is because if there is a way for you to get out of trouble, so nothing bad happen without lying, this is the thing that you should do. So if there is a way for you to say, oh, there is a pink elephant, and then the guy goes away, and that's how you get out of answering the question, that's a good thing. Okay. Not a pink elephant, but another general coming out. Pink elephant doesn't exist. But, like something real, something true that happens, redirect the attention of the general and say, and then not having to answer the question, that would be better. So that's why it's still a bad thing to lie.
Okay. Yeah, now that I understand that, I do. I'm starting to see something, and maybe I'm still misunderstanding, but I think the idea here is, if you can get the same result without lying, then the result without lying is better.
And that's the good thing.
Right, and that's the good. That's
what you did was,
as long as it doesn't involve killing or anything else, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because killing is
okay.
So yeah, of course. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And if you don't, but even if you don't have any other options, it's still going to be the bad thing when you lie.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you. I don't think you have. So there is discussion to have on that subject. It's still open for discussion in the Catholic Church. We have this specific example in the Catechism, the one of the Jews, and it says that it is okay or acceptable, or you don't have to go to the confession. That's a word I was looking for, because you did that, right? It is one of those sins that are not grave because of the context, but it doesn't happen. This hypothetical situation doesn't happen in real life, right? You will always have something, an out, the general passing, another general passing, or those kind of things. They will present yourself in real life. That's what happened. You don't have to lie. In real life, you will always have a way to get out of lying without hurting, without doing anything bad in what you did.
I think I only have one other question regarding this, which is, can someone do a bad thing by telling the truth? And just telling the truth, not murdering or doing anything else, but all they're doing is telling the truth. Do you think that can be bad?
Yeah, there is some context where withholding the truth, péché par omission, so willingly not telling the truth is better? No. So saying the truth when it is not needed. I slept with your wife.
Right.
This kind of truth that you wouldn't go knock on the door, open the door to the guy and say, I slept with your wife. That's the truth. Yes, if you were asked, did you sleep with the wife of this guy? You would say, yes, that's the truth. But you were asked to. But don't try to provoke a situation that is using the truth, right? So there are contexts where truth can be misused, and I think the devil used it.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So I think I understand that line then. Okay, so I think bad is sufficiently defined for me at that point. So let's talk about what would increase your confidence that the claim is true, the claim the devil is the ultimate bad guy.
To increase, I need conversation like this SC session is a good thing for me to organize my thoughts and communicate with others, make it more clear. But ultimately, what I usually do when it comes to devil, God, and those kind of claims, I ask a teacher, a priest, or somebody who studied the Bible. We call them a scholar. How do you call those guys who study the Bible but are not priests?
Oh, theologians? I mean,
thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
right.
That's the word I was looking for, theologians. So yeah, those are the people I talk to, and these are the ones who increase my confidence by a lot, right? Because they have this kind of knowledge of study and work. They worked on the subject. They spend more time than I did on this particular subject, so I will trust their opinion on the subject, and therefore raise my confidence more.
Okay, so I think that the answer is if you spoke to more of them and they seem to also have that same idea, that would increase it. Okay.
And the other way around too. If they say, "Oh no, he's not the ultimate one," I would be like, "What? I need to lower my confidence. Tell me more. I want to know more. Why do you think he's not the ultimate bad guy?" You're like, "Well, how? Who's worse? Tell me who is in the story of the Bible who is worse than the devil." I wonder.
Yeah.
I wish I could meet someone who said that, like a scholar. You know, like could you imagine a theologian comes to me, or I go to to the university, I talk to theologians, and they say, "Yeah, the devil is not the ultimate bad guy." Okay, who is it? Tell me who is worse than this guy?
Right. Yeah. I think that would be interesting. I would be interested in trying to dig that up sometime. But okay, so I am wondering one other thing here, which is what if you read a book and just reading that book, you assessed the devil as worse than the antagonist or the bad guy in that book? Would that increase your confidence? Reading books and just not being able to find bad guys worse.
It depends who wrote the book, who is the writer, and do I trust this? Is it a reliable source? Basically, that's what I was wondering. Since I am a speaker, I use words more than reading, right? And I spend more time talking with people, like in a than reading. So I mean more.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I think maybe there's a misunderstanding. I mean even like fictional books, because I'm guessing you're including every narrative that the devil is the worst character in any book, or maybe I misunderstood the claim.
Oh no! You can make the devil the bad guy, the good guy in a book, right? We have Dexter, who's who's the example of if you were to write a book about Dexter, he's the bad guy in IRL. In real life, he's doing something that is wrong, with caveats.
Okay.
Anyway, the scenarist is making the bad guy the good guy, right?
So you mean the devil as a literal character, as a literal existing figure, not as.
So you have two. In my claim, you have two devils: the one that is described in the Bible, and there is the one that is interpreted by the Catholic Church.
Okay.
Both of those, the one interpreted by the Catholic Church is the real one, the one that is in our reality, that do exist really, and the one depicted in the Bible is the one that people he doesn't exist, right? He's like Superman or Lex Luthor or those kind of character. He's a character, but even as a character, he is the bad guy, the ultimate, the worst.
Okay. All right. I think I'm just going to go with the literal then. We're really talking about the devil being the worst actual character.
Okay.
Okay. So then I can understand why reading like a fictional book wouldn't change your confidence at all, because we're not talking about those, right?
Reality. Well,
okay. And so then my guess then, am I confident in saying that it's the same thing that would decrease it if you're talking to theologians and they were saying, no, the devil isn't the worst character? That would decrease your confidence? Okay. All right. Great. Okay. So, and I think I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it anyway. What information convinces you that this is true? Is it basically just theologians saying that he is the worst character? Is this the information, or is there more?
So I have yet to talk with a theologian on that subject. So I guessed that would be their answer, right? Based on my education and what I know of the devil and how he's presented during my how do you call when you go to church and they teach you about the Bible? Catechism? No, yeah. The catechism is when they teach you about who the devil is and those kind of things, and they teach you as who the real devil is, and he's the worst in their teaching. This is what they teach you in school. So yeah, based on my education, this is what I have as a result. The devil is the bad guy, and there is no one worse than him. There is no being that is worse. Oh yeah. Jacqueline, I do agree with you. One day we will have a theologian online.
I'd be happy to help make that happen.
Oh yeah, that would be fun. Let's try.
Okay, so I think the reasoning here is because you guessed that theologians would say that the devil is the ultimate bad guy, then the devil is the ultimate bad guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
and because of my personal logic, I read the Bible and I looked at the story and see, okay, he's the antagonist and the bad guy in the story.
Okay, personal experiences. Okay. Yeah. So I'm wondering if you let's say one of the examples that I can think of is I get the impression that I could talk to two theologians and they would tell me different things about, let's say the Trinity, even, for example.
That's a good example.
Yeah.
Because I have spoken with theologians that do disagree on the trilogy. So trilogy, yes, that.
Okay, so then how do you decide in that instance what to believe?
So that particular instance for me is based on the sheer amount. So it's a popular, like most scientists believe that the Earth is spherical. I go with that. I don't need more to be a good person or to be a better person. Most theologians would agree that not most theologians, most arguments for Catholicism are the correct one. Therefore, the theologians of the Catholic Church has more value in their say than theologians that are not from the Catholic Church. Therefore, I trust them more than the other theologians, and I have this interpretation of the Trinity as God being three.
Okay, so you said you trust them more as theologians. Did I hear that correctly? I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes, if I have a Muslim theologian and a Christian theologian, a Catholic theologian, or if I have a Christian, how do you call those, Protestant Christian theologian and a Catholic Christian theologian, I do trust the Catholic one more on the subject of the Trinity, right? Not on other subjects, on this particular subject, because of the other subjects like cheating on your wife, lying, those kind of subjects that have a kind of impact in my life. I can experience it myself, right? I have a way to see what happens when I lie, right? And what are the consequences for me? Is it good or is it bad? This is something I could do. Trinity, there is no way for me to test it per se, right? I wouldn't be able to say, is it really true? Is it really one? Is it really true? Although, well, no, there is no way for me to say. So when it comes, because there is so many things that I could test or myself, and they are correct on the answer, I trust them more than the other theologians. On the subject of those that I cannot test.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, I think another one would be, so it seems that you don't know of, or you can't think of any theologian. So for instance, I'm pretty sure that I've heard, and I could be incorrect about this, I have to go do research, so this is not 100%, but I'm pretty sure I've heard Catholic theologians argue that like humans are actually the worst bad guy in the Bible.
Wow.
And for very specific reasons, because of our choices, because of we by Adam, by eating the apple, caused the whole world to fall, right? And so if I had that in front of me, if I had scripts from theologians saying that, would that reduce your confidence at all?
Depends on the claim itself, right? What are the arguments to support this claim? And if someone was to say I can see how someone would say humans are worse than the devil because they are the one who made the choice, not the devil, right? But this argument is not strong enough because of my personal experience. When I am coerced into doing something, I am the one making the choice. I am responsible of what I did. So let's say there is a gun in my head saying you should write that Quayd is the best guy in the world, and then I'm like, all right, I will do it, right? I will choose. It is my choice, but there is an external force that is making me choose this. Therefore, I cannot be. I have a responsibility in writing this text. Quayd is the best guy in the world, but yeah, there is a limitation, right? Because of this, and therefore, the guy with the gun is worse than me.
All right, just one final question then. So then, just revisiting that 65% confidence claim, you would say that that's where you're at. And it is because theologians, you get the impression that theologians say that the devil is the ultimate bad guy.
That's and my own analysis also.
And your own analysis. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that would be the next place to explore.
Personal experience.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to me, Luke. It was good talking about it.
Nice.
Thank you. That was rocking.
Should I leave the room or should I stay a little bit?
Bye-bye. And I'm going to bring in two others. Angelo's here with audio only, and Dorf and Bell. Just want to welcome you both. Hello, Atangelo. Hello, Dorf. What do you each want to bring so I know how to arrange you? You're the last two callers of the show, and I need to figure out how to figure that out. What would you like to bring, Dorf?
Well, I know that Atangelo, am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
I know that they were first before me, so I don't know if
that's true.
Probably matters as well. I don't know.
It does.
I have more of a metaphor or a claim. I'm not really sure what it is yet.
Okay.
I'm just going to try and work it out here, but
yeah, because Atangelo apparently is away. He's not sharing his video
So
yet.
I should go now.
I would like you to go first.
Absolutely. Well, hello, everyone. How are you?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm great.
So basically, this is kind of a metaphor, I guess, but I live in an apartment on a street that's kind of a busy street.
Mhm.
And over the past month, they have completely been destroying the street for construction to make it into a new street, you know, for whatever reason that is. So they're everyday loud machines are coming and they are smashing up the street, cracking up the old concrete and making it into huge pieces, and then a bigger machine, I'm not really sure what it's called, will pick up a big rock and it'll smash it over and over again on these concrete tubes that they pull from in the street, and they're smashing them all day, and they're very loud noises.
Okay.
Indeed, and it's very distracting.
Pile driver kind of stuff. Yeah, horrible. Mhm.
Yes, very, very loud stuff. Now, I'll go out there and I'll take a look at the street, and I won't really recognize the street because it's all completely torn up. I've lived here for a while. I remember my old street. But now I'm out there, and every day I'm hearing this noise because I'm at home all day, and I'm hearing them smashing and ripping and scraping and bashing and tearing. So
yes, good list there. Is there a question? I'm imagining the scene now. What should I conclude?
Now I'm hearing that every day, becoming monotonous.
Yes.
You know, so how do I deal with that?
Noise canceling headphones.
Well,
sorry, was that an SE question?
Oh, yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
How is it not? I mean,
yeah. I invite anybody else's answer. Do you have any other way? I mean, I guess the alternatives are like leave the location.
It's more of a metaphor. It's more of a metaphor than anything.
Oh, it's a metaphor of just like the pounding of life. How do you deal with the constant pounding of life?
I don't know.
Okay. And I welcome anybody else's input. So far, this isn't an SE claim.
Oh, okay.
It's more like just a question. It's like a question of how to deal with it. And
well,
I am very messed up by noises. So when I go out walking in traffic, I actually wear these.
Oh.
Noise canceling headphones.
So you can't hear any of it.
I can still hear things. I just hear it at a much lower volume. I will have no trouble at all hearing a car horn or somebody trying to call my name. It just turns the volume down
lower and lower.
And if I wear these,
I see.
Way less anxious when I come back. Traffic noises just amp me up.
I understand it.
Now we're in a advice column. Is there an SE thing that I can do this with?
No, that's kind of all I had.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy. And now Otangelo. Hello, Otangelo. I'm going to put you in the front. Hi there. Welcome.
Yes. Hello, guys. Can you hear me well?
Yes, you sound good to me. And you sound ringed, or you look all ringed, like we're looking through a pane of glass. It's pretty.
Yes, I am actually on my cell phone because I'm restarting my computer. I didn't have good connection, and so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I guess is great.
Yes, my cell phone has good quality. So yeah. Yeah, so my first question is, this whole thing about street epistemology, is that just about the God question or any kind of inquiry of truth, value, and so forth?
I welcome any. Rosemary, Viral, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Anything. My claim wasn't God, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't necessarily belong to God beliefs. It can apply to any belief, and to see if the reasoning for that belief is a good reason to believe in that claim or not. That's what I would say.
Yeah. My experience is that I can bring up whatever good argument that I think I have in regards of the existence of God, but
Okay.
that is just an intellectual exercise. But I think there is another component when it comes actually to God, and I am saying special in regards of the God of the Bible.
Mhm.
And Christ said that we need to be born again spiritually. And that goes only if someone actually seeks out to find God. And if someone doesn't look to have actually a relationship with God and finding the truth in regards of this kind of ontological question,
Okay.
then that person will not actually have an encounter. And I don't think it is just about that degree. How much confidence do you have in regards of God existing or not? I think it is an all or nothing issue. Let's say if you ask me, do you believe that God exists, and what is your confidence? I say, well, it's 100%. For me, it is not a shadow degree or something. Well, I am 60 or 50 or 40% confident. No, I'm 100% sure. I can eventually not prove it to you because there are no proofs for God's existence. But I know for myself that God exists. That God exists. For me, God exists 100%. I have no doubts in regards of that.
I want to push back.
And
will you allow?
Yeah, and
I think
what I
proof
want
of God's existence.
I am sorry, Dali.
I think there is proof of God's existence. I'm pushing back. I'm breaking the rules of SE here. And before you even make a claim, I'm going to say, well, but wait, you believe in God, and you just described to me a process whereby you assumed a thing and then found a way to confirm it, to prove it to yourself. You have proof. Do you agree?
Well, we are talking, of course, about what is actually really true in regards of ultimate reality. It is not about some kind of self-delusion that I tell myself that God exists, that I am sure about that, but in reality it could be quite different, right? So I don't think that any one of us is in the business of self-delusion.
My whole thing is just being pedantic about one word you use. You said there is no proof. And you described the proof to me before you said it. I am convinced that you have proof. Because I believe you about what you saw or experienced or whatever words you used. I think you have proof of God.
Okay, so if you think I have actually provided good proof of God.
I didn't say that proof was available to me because it may not be something you can communicate through this medium.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's my point.
Have proof of God.
I have proof for myself, but it is not something that I can demonstrate to someone else.
It's difficult to externalize because of the nature of the proof. Is that what I hear?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So does this come to a claim? Is that the claim?
Well, my claim is this, that at least how I understand it is that in order for someone to become a Christian, it isn't just an intellectual exercise where you evaluate all the evidence around you and eventually then in the end you become a Christian. Because Christ said that you need to be born again in spirit. So there is also a spiritual component where actually God takes action and changes your heart, and where you are spiritually newly born again.
Yes.
And from that moment on, your inner you and the Holy Spirit confirms to you that God exists.
Mm-hmm. I'm interrupting myself for just a moment. How can I call in for the next show? We will announce it. So if you subscribe to this channel, you'll get a notification. Okay. Rosemary Overo, do you have any questions for Otangelo on the claim that's apparent?
So I guess my question, Otangelo, would be that you're saying that we cannot know the existence of a Christian God through reason alone. Is that correct? We have to do additional requirements in order to actually come to knowledge about the existence of it?
I don't think that is something that depends from you. I think that if God sees a seeking heart, someone which genuinely looks to have a relationship with God, then God will reveal himself to that person and then promote that spiritual birth.
And how would this person know that this has happened to them? How would they determine that it actually happened?
This is something which I cannot express to you in words. It is kind of a spiritual birth which happens inside of you, operated by the Holy Spirit, and which you experience, which you cannot explain, but it gives you an inner conviction that you have basically changed camp, that you have a new nature which comes from above, which comes from God, where you actually have the door open to have that relationship with God.
Is it appropriate for someone to, by the way, now we're doing the SE, so we can go on to just one of us, unless you would prefer just to deal with the whole panel.
It's up to you guys.
Okay. So Rosemary and Viral, respect the pause. I'm just going to leave you right here. You might whisper things in my ear. Is it appropriate for me to bring a new belief for reasons of it might be true and I feel like it? So then I take on the belief, and then once I'm in the belief, over a long period of time, should I test it intellectually? Should it become, do I need an intellectual confirmation of my belief once I have taken it on for other reasons?
That's a good question, Dali. And I think that, at least in my case, what I can say is that when I converted when I was 18, it was basically a naive belief, in the sense that I by far didn't have the understanding and knowledge which I do have today. Mm-hmm. And that exercise came through my continuous dialogue with unbelievers, which constantly were testing basically my beliefs. And I mean, you know that I've seen recently many persons that came on to a stream and said, oh, well, I've been a Christian for 25 years, and then I left my faith and I'm not a Christian anymore. And I think even you, Dali, have experienced that. So I cannot actually...
Similar to my own background.
Yeah, so since I've not experienced that, I cannot say what happened in the mind or in what experience that was. But at least I can talk about myself. And I have just over the years seen one confirmation after the other in regards of many different aspects, which have just solidified the faith which I already have.
So can you give me an example of, now this is a hypothetical, it's a confirmation that hasn't happened, but is in the category of things that you would call confirmation? Like something happens tomorrow that confirms. Could you describe that story for me?
Well, in my case, I study a lot of science, right? And I think that...
You have a book coming up. Please tell me about that book. And
yeah, I'm writing about the origin of life.
Yeah.
And there are basically two aspects to it. Either, I think we had that in our one-to-one conversation, Dali, where I said that there are basically two lines of evidence that you can follow. One is you can make a hypothesis and test that hypothesis, and you test it until you break it, or in the sense that you test it and it never brings you to the confirmation of that hypothesis, but every route or every rabbit hole that you go down, you always get to a dead end as an answer. So that means that your hypothesis arrives at the point where you have to admit, well, it seems that my hypothesis doesn't actually work. I have to look somewhere else. And that is called eliminative induction, where when you have two competing hypotheses and one doesn't work, then the other is by default true. That is one. So that would be one line of
the dichotomy. How do you make sure there's only two options?
Well, in regards of God, I make it very simple. Either an intelligence was involved in creating the physical order, or it was not involved. So that is a dichotomy.
So that particular hypothesis is a simple yes/no on something that is happened or didn't happen. It's not partial.
It is very powerful because we know actually what the science of intelligent action is, and we know what non-intelligent mechanisms are not capable of instantiating because we have never observed it to happen, right?
Okay, so we know at an inductive level, which is not certain, that so far as we have observed, intelligence has not produced a result of this class. I don't think I need to define the class all that much, but it's the one that includes creation of life. Is that right? The complexity of life?
Yeah, I like very much to make analogous examples because that is what we constantly see.
Sure.
For example, and I think
I don't need to define the category very tightly to follow the rest of the point.
Yeah, I mean, you can test the hypothesis that a non-intelligent mechanism can make a blueprint, and upon that blueprint, a machine or a factory. That has never been observed.
This is like a black swan thing. We've only seen white swans so far.
Yeah.
What would the black swan look like? What would be an example of intelligence producing something that would qualify in your category?
No, let's keep to the no intelligence hypothesis. It would be topped or it would be met. The hypothesis would be confirmed if in a laboratory situation, some scientists would scramble up some elements, some atoms, some basic molecules, and just left them on their own, and they would then join to make a DNA strand with genetic information, and upon that information, a machinery would self-assemble and start transcribing and translating that information, and then making molecular machines, and in the end,
you're asking them to demonstrate life without intelligence?
Yeah.
Oh! I thought we were saying that there's no examples of intelligent anything creating this kind of thing.
Well, I would come to that in a second instance. But the first instance is that you can test if the hypothesis works that no intelligence was involved in creating life, which would be equivalent to create a DNA molecule which stores instructional information, then a self-assembly of the machinery which transmits that information, that is RNA polymerase and ribosomes, and then the process of actually expressing that information and making molecular machines and cells. If in a laboratory situation that process would happen by unguided means, then the hypothesis that life from non-life by unguided means, it would be confirmed. But that has never happened. Now, we can go to the second hypothesis. Could it be shown that intelligence could do it? Well, even us, with all the intelligence that we have, we would not be capable to instantiate this because it is in such a miniature level, and we cannot create life from non-life. But analogously,
can we biomimic life?
Excuse me?
Can we biomimic life? Can we create something from an existing pattern, but using only non-living things to make that?
Yeah, even on a macroscopic level, technologically speaking, it would be very difficult to create a self-replicating factory. But we know in principle how it could happen.
But we don't use any material from the original one. We only use
No,
elemental
even if we
stuff,
even,
and
even
we
if we
assemble it
use
into-
yeah, if we use macroscopic materials on our disposal, just to create however we could a self-replicating factory, technologically speaking, it is not in our reach with all the intelligence that we have, basically a von Neumann machine. But what we do know is that intelligence creates blueprints. I'm a machine designer. I do that as a profession. And we know how we can transmit information from the blueprint to the factory. Like today, we can use emails. Before it was paper that was sent to the factory and so forth. And we know that factory workers, they can actually construct machines and factories. So by our own experience, we know that intelligence is capable of instantiating these things.
Okay, thank you. Now I want to write a fiction story that happens 5 years from now. And in this fiction story, they do the thing that you're describing. They manage to make from basic elements, from, you said macroscopic, I'm not sure, but from elements that are not alive. We're not taking life and making something out of food. We're taking something that is water, that is CO2, that is really basic non-alive stuff. And we are assembling it all the way from the ground up and creating a cell. Now, it's a copy of an existing cell. We're not creating a new way to do it, but we make a cell, and then maybe it's a fantastic thing for, making products of some sort because reasons. Would that satisfy your example?
Well, that would be intelligently designed and alive. So
Right.
that would
So now you
confirm
have-
intelligent design.
That would confirm intelligent design. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And does that close the book on it's not possible for what's the original claim? Is that intelligent design must be in the loop? Well, I guess that's a white swan. That's an that would be the second example of intelligent design creating life. The
thing, Dali, is that the claim that abiogenesis or life from non-life by unguided means is possible would be confirmed if you would just leave basic materials on their own, and then they would somehow self-assemble, and in the end you would have a self-replicating factory.
So we get really good at space. And Viral, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to say, if we do an experiment and we're not able to replicate living things from non-living things like that, would it be possible that these things can happen given a long time, longer than our lifespans? Like we wouldn't be able to see it, but it'll still happen after a really long time. Is that possible?
Yeah, first of all, that would be a naturalism of the gaps in the sense that we don't know if it can happen, but maybe science is working on it and then in the future it will happen. So we have a no answer today, but we fill that gap with naturalism. So that would be a naturalism of the gaps argument. It is possible. We don't just not know yet how. Okay, but
imagine NASA gets really, really good. I know I'm shortening you because we're out of time. Sorry about that. Imagine NASA gets really, really good, and we manage to send a whole bunch of probes, and in the next 20 years, discover 30 examples of life on other planets. Simple cell life, maybe. Would that show the natural experiment that life could have happened without intelligent design?
No, it wouldn't, Dali, because it could still be that eventually a deity or aliens did put life to other planets, right?
Okay. So the only way to satisfy the condition that you're talking about is to actually allow enough time in a known sterile start for life to evolve or to abiogenicize or whatever the word would be.
You know, there is another problem which has been elucidated by scientific research, which is that basic molecules left on their own, rather than complexifying together, they actually disintegrate. And obviously, that is exactly contrary to the process that we want to see to happen.
Yeah, so I think if you are correct, it would just never happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The conditions for life forming could be different in the past as it is compared to today, like levels of oxygen, for instance.
If we visit enough stars, we can probably work that difference out.
Yeah, you have another problem, which is life uses
travel first. This is a real bummer. Go ahead.
Yeah, you have another problem, which is, let's suppose even that there would be a constant energy supply which would permit these molecules to start interacting together somehow and then to complexify. I give you that, okay? Then you have another problem, which is life uses basically 4 basic building blocks of life. This is nucleotides, phospholipids, amino acids, and carbohydrates. But on a prebiotic Earth, you have basically an unlimited number of different molecules and combinations of atoms, which are just laying around on a prebiotic Earth. And you need to actually either synthesize somehow or select these basic building blocks. But there was no natural selector back then.
Okay. Cool. Thank you for that. I look forward to reading your book. I assume it's going to cover this topic.
Yeah, it does.
Yep. Okay. Well, hit me up. I want to shield your book. I want to interview when you're ready to publish and all those things.
Cool. Sure. We'll do that.
Thank you, Otangelo. Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you, Ariel.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Quayd, for your time.
Lost in the cloud of internet connections. And thank you all of the rest of you in the audience. We are delighted to see you. We'll be here again next week, same time. For me, it's noon on Fridays. Sorry, noon on Saturdays. I don't need to confuse you. It's noon on Saturdays in Pacific time, and on the East Coast, 3 p.m., things like that. Or Otangelo, it's 4 p.m. And anyway, you know where it is. And if you're subscribed, then you'll be able to get the notifications of when we are doing it. And we try to let you know at least 12 hours ahead or something like that. We also have a floating time midweek call-in show, and that will be based upon the availability and convenience of our lovely panelists like these two. And you should imagine them standing in front of a dozen or few dozen others. And we'll be scheduling it that way, and as well as we're doing the review show that way, basically figuring out what's convenient for the panelists and the audience. You're just gonna have to get used to us floating around the calendar and whatnot. Besides, you can watch it later; it's recorded, but you have to be live if you want to ask questions. Okay, all right. Back out of your face a little. Thank you all. Waving goodbye.
Thank you.
Wave. Everybody must wave.